Hey friends, it's Captain Handsome back with my final divisional installment going over the AFC West. And yeah, obviously last night didn't work out the way we wanted it to. Or I don't actually, not even the way I wanted it to, the way that we bet. I really think that Atlanta had every chance to win that game. I mean, if you watched it, you saw they had every chance to win that game. Their D was great and fast and got a little tired at the end. But what do you expect when they run 3 1-minute long drives in the second half? So yeah, it was disappointing. Atlanta absolutely should have covered, should have won the game. And if they'd scored those points, we would have hit our teaser as well. But it is what it is. That's the game. That's why they play the games. We had a terrible start to the season, but it's one game. So let's move on and let's go on to the AFC West preview. We're going to start with the incumbent, being the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, the big news in Chiefs land is Alex Smith is out and Pat Mahomes is in. This is the second time Alex Smith's been booted after being pretty successful. And I guess we're waiting to see what Mahomes is going to bring. I've said numerous times I'm not a massive Mahomes fan. I understand he's got an arm. I understand he's got some talent. I don't think he's going to be the future of anything. I mean, he might exist in the NFL, but I mean, maybe his top end for me is Jay Cutler. And I like Cutler more than most people like Cutler. I never thought Cutler was a superstar, but I didn't think Cutler was as bad as everybody thought. But that's kind of the top end for me for Mahomes. But we'll see. I mean, he's still got a ton of talent on that offense with Hunt and Kelsey and Hill. And they added Sammy Watkins, which is something that doesn't get talked about a ton. Defensively, I mean, they're in big trouble. Dontari Poe and Marcus Peters leaving. Yeah, I mean, they're in trouble. That defense is not going to be good. I don't know what else to say. The honest truth is I just don't think they're going to be very good. I think that their offense is going to have to carry them. I think this year, I don't see them being a threat for the division. I mean, not a threat, but I don't see them winning the division. I don't see them being a playoff team this year. I see them being an 8-8 team, maybe even 7-9. I just think that defense is so bad, it's going to be really hard to score enough points. And I don't like Pat Mahomes nearly as much as I like Alex Smith, who I still don't also love. I just think Alex Smith doesn't make mistakes, and Pat Mahomes is going to make some big mistakes in his first year. He's in a division that has 2 really great pass rushing teams, so he's going to have to go up against the Chargers pass rush. Less Joey Bosa the first time, but still a good Chargers defense twice, and a really good... not Raiders, a really good Broncos defense as well. And I just think that that's going to be troublesome for him. And I think, like I said, I think they're 8-8, best case 9-7 in a miracle season, but realistically probably 8-8, maybe 9-7. From a fantasy perspective, I'm not touching either of the running backs. Neither of them have looked impressive. Booker's probably looked more impressive, maybe not more impressive, but I mean, less of a train wreck. I don't touch either of them. I'm talking about Denver's running backs. This is a terrible job of me. I'm sorry, guys. I got rocked into there. Obviously, with Kansas City, I touch all of their offensive players. Travis Kelce, for me, is the number 1 tight end. I like Rob Gronkowski, but Travis Kelce doesn't get hurt as much. And also, I love him for the flagging the official with his own towel. Tyreek Hill, obviously, is a stud. So, I mean, you can't go wrong there. And you've got Hunt. So, I mean, they've got 3 studs on that offense. That's why I'm not super worried. I have a really tough time with the Watkins thing because I just don't think there's enough balls to go around. So I'm probably not touching him at all. I'm probably letting him go or letting him fall to somebody else who can hope that he has a big game for them. But I'm not touching him. Next, I'm going to move on to the Los Angeles Chargers. And this is the team I think is going to win the division. It's the team that everybody thinks is going to win the division. It's not a secret. They're a good team. They got to it too late last year. They had some really awful... what's the word I'm looking for? They had some really awful special teams situations that cost them a lot last year. It cost them one against my Dolphins that they definitely should have won. Phillip Rivers doesn't get enough credit for putting up the decent numbers that he has for so long and continuing to do it even at his advanced age. I'm a big supporter of Old Man Rivers. I think he's very, very good. I think offensively, you've got a stud wide receiver. You've got... Here's the thing. I like Melvin Gordon, but I think I might like Eckler better. I know Melvin Gordon is the guy. He's the one who's supposed to do all the dirty work. But I don't know. I think that... I think there's a chance that Melvin Gordon loses a bunch of touches this year just because of how much I like Eckler. I know that Gordon is the stud, and from a fantasy perspective, you take him. They've got a top 7 running back there. They've got a top 5 wide receiver for fantasy purposes, and the other one for me, my favorite fantasy play, is getting Phil Rivers as like QB9 or QB10. There's so much value in that. I think he's going to have a monster year. Everyone's all over Mike Williams. I really, really like Tyrell Williams. You can get him at the end of your draft for nothing, and he's really their number 2. Mike Williams didn't do anything last year. I believe he was the number 7 overall pick. And I heard an amazing stat on NFL radio that only one time a first-round wide receiver has had a terrible first year. Have they had a good second year? It's only happened one time since like 2000 or since 90 something. It's a crazy stat. I don't even know what the stat is, but what I will tell you is it doesn't say great things about Mike Williams or John Ross or any of those guys, Corey Davis, those guys. So for me, and I also love Tyrell Williams. If you follow me, you know that I love him, so I'm on that. I think San Diego is going to be San Diego. I'm going to call them San Diego 700 times, and you're just going to be like, this guy's an idiot. Doesn't he know they moved to Los Angeles? I do know that. Years and years and years of watching them as a San Diego Chargers. I do think Los Angeles is the best team in this division. I think with a healthy Hunter Henry, they might be the best team in the AFC. I think they still have a shot to be the best team in the AFC because I don't think the AFC is nearly as good as the NFC. But, defensively, they're good. Once Bosa's healthy, him and Ingram are going to be super dirty together, and we know that. They've got a decent secondary. I think they're the most complete team in the AFC West by a mile, and might be the most complete team in the AFC. So I'm picking them to probably go 11-5. I think that's realistic. With Hunter Henry, I'd probably pick them to go at least 12-4 because I really do think they're that good. I think they're a very good team, which isn't a surprise because everybody does. Moving on to the Denver Broncos. Obviously, we know their big move was to go and get Case Keenum. My favorite move on their part was getting Marquette King from the Raiders. Huge Marquette King fan. It's a weird John Gruden move that I'll talk about in a minute. But I really like that. I also love the Chubb move. Having Chubb and, adding Chubb to that defense that includes Von Miller and the pass rush they're going to have is just going to be disgusting. I know they're going to be upset to have Aqib Talib leave, but I still think their secondary is going to be decent. I think their front seven is going to be solid. I think their defense is going to be very good. If their offensive line can hold up, I think that they can be the second place team in the division. I think they can win 9 games if their offensive line holds up, because Keenum's shown that he can do it. And Minnesota didn't exactly have a world-beating offensive line. I just think Minnesota's offense was so much better. With them, like I said, I'm not touching either of those running backs because, I think they're going to be okay, but neither of them look like studs, possibly because of the offensive line, possibly because they're just not that good. From a fantasy perspective, both Thomas and Sanders are going way later than they should in pretty much every draft, and Sanders is going way later than he should because of last year. You can snap him up so late and absolutely do so. Even Thomas, I think, is going much later than he should because he does put up numbers, and now he's got a quarterback who I think can get him the ball. So from that perspective, I think there's value with both of them. They're not guys I'd run out to go and get, but I think there's definitely value there. Lastly, we're going to move on to the Oakland Raiders. And I think the Oakland Raiders are going to be bad. I hate the Khalil Mack trade. I hate the Marquette King release. I hate the Jordy Nelson signing. I hate letting Michael Crabtree go because I thought he was their most consistent and reliable receiver. I hate a lot of things. I like that Marshawn Lynch has come back looking good. It's everything I'm hearing is saying that he looks good, so I like that a lot. I don't like John Gruden. And I know that that's a popular thing. I never have. I thought he was that guy who talked too much on television. I thought that he throws players and stuff under the bus way too much. He did that when he was before, and I think he's going to do it again. And like I said, I hate the Khalil Mack trade. You trade a guy for 2 first-rounders, but you also give up a second, so it's really like a first and a half. And what do you do with those picks? Do you package them to get a better pick so hopefully you can get a player as good as Khalil Mack? Because guys like that don't come around, man. It was Justin Tuck compared him to Lawrence Taylor. And then, and everyone, it's a hyperbole. And he said, no, I know what I'm saying. I know who I'm talking about. I honestly believe he can be that good. He said, I've never played with a guy who's impressed me this much. He played with some great guys in New York. That New York defense was exceptional for a while. So, yeah. I don't like the Khalil Mack deal. I just don't like it. I think the Raiders are going to be bad this year. I think you're really spitting in your fans' faces saying, we're leaving. Also, we're going to trade away our best player. Deal with it. So I think that they're going to be a tough draw for the next 2 years. And I think that stinks for them, but it is what it is. I think they're going to be bad. Their defense got a lot worse, and I just don't see them being spectacular. Gary and Conley's going to have a big step up year this year for that defense to do anything at all. Amari Cooper on the offensive end is probably the only guy I'm really looking at. From a fantasy perspective, I don't love Jordy Nelson. Derek Carr is my backup in a couple of leagues, which is where I think he is. Unless you're in a 16-team pool, maybe 14. But I've got him as a backup in 3 or 4 12-team leagues. Maybe not 3 or 4, maybe 2 or 3. I'm not sure how many times I've got him. I've got him a few times, but he's not a guy I'm going after. I worry about Marshawn. I think if you can grab Marshawn super late, I think he's going to break down towards the end of the year. So if you can grab him super late and then trade him after a couple of weeks because, there's a guy in your pool who's a Raiders fan and, didn't take him because he was worried and then he sees that he's having a couple of good games, yeah, ship him away. Ship him away and do that. I didn't touch Jordy Nelson. I am a firm believer that Aaron Rodgers makes receivers. I'm a firm believer that Jordy Nelson is a slightly above average receiver who played with Aaron Rodgers. And going to Oakland, he's not going to be as good. His numbers are going to show that he was carried by Aaron Rodgers. And I just can't see, with where he's being drafted, I would probably take him 4 rounds later if he was available, but not up there. So as far as how the Raiders are going to finish, 5 wins maybe, 4 wins maybe. I think they're going to be bad. I don't think it's going to be one of those things where their offensive line started to show cracks last year, and whether that was because they were mad at Derek Carr for, discouraging them from kneeling. I believe they have the only entirely African-American offensive line in the league. And so they were all, they all wanted to make a statement, and he, criticized that. And it is what it is. I my feelings. I support people's right to speak out however they want. It is a privately owned league, and if the league wanted to do something about that, I would also support their right to do that, as long as they collectively bargain it with the players that something is not allowed, which I don't think could even happen. So At this point, I respect the right to protest. I think it's silly for Derek Carr to say anything like that to the guys who were protecting him. So some people think that they were, mailing it in a little bit. I just think they're getting older and more banged up. I mean, Donald Penn is aging. Let's remember, Donald Penn's getting up there. So yeah, I think that's going to be a factor. I just think they're not that great, and I think Gruden's a bad coach who, was better in an age where players didn't have personalities and you could boss them around. It's the same issues I have with Adam Gase, thinking that you're going to be able to get all these good boys who behave and say their prayers and take their vitamins and belong to the Hulk Hogan training regiment or whatever. So yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in the Raiders this year. I think they're going to be in trouble. I hated the Mac trade. I hate the Marquette King release. So that's where I sit on the AFC West. As always, guys, please let me know what you think. I'm going to put together a betting podcast for tomorrow. If you go on my Twitter, which is at CPT_handsome, at CPT_handsome, that means Captain Handsome. I think my name listed as Rodgers is better than Brady, which we all know is true. If you go on there, you'll see the bets that I make as I make them. I think I already posted the only 2-unit play, which is a teaser that I posted. I know I'm going to play. I've already played the Cincinnati money line, so that's going to be on there as well. Otherwise, I need to review the card. I've made some plays, but some lines have moved, so I'm going to review the card. I'm going to put that out tomorrow. So guys, check it out. If you have any questions, as always, hit me up on Twitter or put a comment on underneath here. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching, and have a great day.